I'm 33 now, and ever since I can remember, the things that I've always wanted out of life was to have a lot of money, to have no financial stress, to basically just live like a high roller. And I never lost sight of that. All through my teenage years, coming into my 20s, that was the one thing that stood out to me. I just wanted the nice cars, the houses, I wanted the status as any probably young man does, and I just wanted to be free of what I saw coming through my younger years as just the normal traditional thing. And now I'm really proud to say at 33 years old, I'm really proud to say I've gained a level of that I'm really proud of. And if you don't know who I am, my name's Ben. I own a remote digital agency. I do about 50K a month revenue, and I am living a really great life that, as I say, I'm super proud of that I've achieved. And I'm making this video because I grew up as a younger man in a very traditional upbringing, and like I don't really have much of a sob story for you. Like I'm not going to go ahead and say I had this really hard life, and that kind of seems like the social media normal thing to really push onto people. Is just like I had it really hard and whatever. And some people did. I'm not discounting that, but I didn't. I had a normal traditional upbringing, and in a lot of ways, wanting like having big goals and dreams as a young guy. I guess it was almost having a normal upbringing is almost one of those scenarios that's not harder, but you don't really have the struggle to learn how to, you know, foresee, but also go through hard times and like endure the hard stuff that you need to when you want success, whatever that looks like to you. And for most people, it's kind of similar. For most young men or even women who want success and want to do great things, it's hard. And I'm making this video because I really felt like the black sheep of a lot of friendship groups. I felt like an outlier. I felt like I was a bit of an outcast. And there were a lot of different reasons for it, but one of the main reasons for it was that I had bigger goals and dreams for myself, and I didn't shy away from expressing it. I was a very emotional young guy, and I'm making the video for the same people who might feel like they're in the position I was in when I was younger. And I fought tooth and nail for all of my 20s, basically, to work it out. And the reason I felt like such an outcast was I would dive headfirst into so many scenarios that would really disadvantage me and make people worry about me, like my family. And I would try and start businesses. I would have these big goals and dreams to do crazy things that even saying them out loud would sound weird, because I just knew in my mind, I just knew in my head that I just wanted big things for myself, and I didn't know how to do it. I just knew that I was eventually going to. As I matured, obviously I worked parts of that out on what I really value, but when I was younger, I found it really difficult. And this video is for those who kind of feel the same. You kind of feel like anything you talk about in like your social groups or settings or even your family, like it kind of falls on deaf ears, and also you don't really have the support network there. You know that you want success in your life. You know that you want money, you want things that are uncomfortable to maybe talk about to people around you because they either A, don't have it themselves, or B, they don't have the big enough dreams or desires to get them for themselves, or the courage to do it. And if you're one of those people who has the courage, you know you have it, you just don't know what to do, or you're doing it right now and you're finding it really hard, then this is probably more for you. And as growing up, I was kind of weirder. So like I didn't have my first drink of alcohol till I was 26, and that to a lot of people is weird. And I received both praise and weird looks and responses from that. I've never owned my own car and with my own money, and I don't own my own house. I have no debt. I have no credit cards. Like I just knew that going through my 20s, watching the traditional kind of upbringing that I had with my parents and then my friends around me who had just normal upbringings as well, I noticed how the inner workings of that stuff worked, and it never made sense to me. Like, as an example, I saw how stress and debt and things would accumulate just from the normal way of living. And what I mean is, go and get a job, find a partner for life, pay off debt for the rest of your life by doing things like buying weddings, which is just a glorified party to me, and buying houses and cars on banks' money when you're just earning enough to scrape by. And this is how the whole system works. But back then, when I was watching that stuff unfold in front of me, I really questioned it. I was like, what's this all about? Like, why the fuck would you put yourself under this much stress and pressure to live? Surely there's a better way to this. And when you're in that environment, it's really hard to see past it, because the advice and the things that you hear is all from that lens. It's all from people who have lived that lifestyle. And it never made sense to me. I questioned all of it. Now, I'm not like a massively intelligent human being. Like, I'm just of normal intelligence, I would say. But the thing that separated me and allowed me to sort of break away from that was I questioned it, and then I had the courage to go, no, that's not right. Despite even, it's not right. Okay, it's not that it's not right, but it wasn't right for me. And if you feel the same way, then maybe this video will help you. Maybe it'll help you understand that you're on the path that you need to be on, and not on the path that is pushed on you from the social norms and the expectations maybe of others on you. And those voices are really loud. So I've got some tips that might help. And I'm kind of making this for the younger version of myself who kind of needed this advice coming through. And I'm not by any stretch saying that I'm some incredible entrepreneur who's made it and listened to me. It's just like, this is just unsolicited advice that I wish I kind of had when I was younger, and I wish I had have heard. And so there's 4 things that I've written down that I have memorized to be able to share with you. The first one is, people's advice is just advice based on their beliefs and not your own beliefs. I'll say it again. People's advice is just advice based on their beliefs and not yours. It's so important, because unless somebody has walked the path of the lifestyle that you actually want, and I'm talking about they have the expensive cars, they have the expensive houses, they have the free lifestyle where they don't have to be a certain place to be able to earn money, or they don't seem stressed at all, or they have provided for their family. Like, unless they have and they demonstrate the things that you want out of your life, don't listen to their advice. You can still be friendly about it. You can ask questions, of course, and be curious about other people's lives, but don't go and follow some advice from somebody who works a 9 to 5, who just scrapes by, and you know in your heart, you know deep down in your soul that that's not the life that you're actually after. They might be able to provide some advice on things that they've done before that is helpful, but for the most part, usually people who have demonstrated and lived the life you actually want are going to be the best people to take advice from. So that's the first thing. Number 2 is, and this one kind of sucks, but the people closest to you will be your biggest threat to your potential. And this one's a hard one, because usually the people closest to you are the ones that we love, and unconditionally. And that is the way it should be. They're our family, they're our friends, they're relatives. And we love them, but it doesn't mean that they know what's best for you if they're not willing to listen to your deepest desires and dreams. And it can be coated in so many different ways. But again, it comes back to point 1. Unless your family and your friends have demonstrated a life that you actually want, their advice and their direction for you probably isn't going to take you closer to it. And that's a really hard one, because it takes a level of breaking away from the advice of that to be able to coexist in that space with them, so that you can live your life in a way that still moves you towards your goals and your desires, but also keeps you close to them. And that looks in many different ways. And now as a business owner who has a lifestyle that I have always wanted, and I do have now, I understand what the saying "forgive your parents" means, because I resented them for so long because they just wanted what was best for me, and their advice was to do certain things that just went against everything that I believed in. And it was to settle down with that person and buy a house and do the normal life things. And I just never wanted that when I was in my 20s. And I never did that. And it caused me a lot of stress and pressure, but I just knew in my heart that that wasn't right for me at the time. So I'm so glad that I took my own advice and I followed my gut and I went through all the hard things that I did, because I'm in a position now that I would say I'm super proud of. So that's the second thing. Number 3, buying things and going into debt is enemy number 1. So, like, they call it keeping up with the Joneses. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's a fucking trap. And it's a trap because usually keeping up with the Joneses means, you've heard of it before. One of your mates goes and buys a car. One of your friends goes and buys a dog or a house or whatever. Dog's probably a bad example, but they buy something that they're leveraged into, that they need to now spend their time, money, and stress levels and emotions on, and time, sorry, I already said that, but time on paying that thing off. And it's usually for a long period of time. Now, when you're in your 20s and your early years, you have the most energy, you have the most creativity. And that should be used to filter into not having to pay off debts just to keep up with the people that are close to you. It makes no fucking sense. It should be put into upskilling yourself, investing in yourself, and learning new things, learning skills so that you can earn money without the need for having to pay off something that's going to hinder your progress for long periods of time. And usually this comes from the same advice and the same mindset of people around you that are just looking to try and one-up each other. And it's just a dick measuring contest ego game that just makes no sense. And if you're going into debt, it's usually you're buying things that are to uphold somebody else's life and values and not your own. And that's the reason why I have never bought a car with my own money. If I wanted to tomorrow, I could go and buy the car of my dreams. I'd probably put myself into stress and pressure, but it doesn't suit my values right now. My values is to continue leveling up in my life, because I can see now that if I buy just like anything with my money right now that is all ego driven, then it's not actually moving me closer to fulfillment. It's moving me further away from it. So I'm so glad that I either didn't have the means to pay for a car or something expensive in my 20s to start with. But secondly, I was mature enough to see that I got a little bit of money now. Let's be a little bit more calculated with this choice. And if you're in that position, have a second thought about what's true to you now, and it probably isn't buying expensive stuff. That's number 3. And number 4 is to work harder in your 20s to live free for the rest of your life. And it doesn't mean don't do fun shit in your 20s, but between the ages of 20 and 30, you have the most energy, you have the most creativity, you have the most foresight, you are just in your young, youthful years. Use a good portion of that to learn new skills, to learn how to extract money from the economy of people who need things from you, so that you can continue to do that for the rest of your life and fund the rest of your life. 20 to 30 is just 10 years of your time. 30 to whatever is the majority of your life. And you're going to want to live that in the most stress-free, fulfilling way you possibly can. So I want to draw a really strong line though and say, doesn't mean ignore everything that is fun in your 20s that you want to explore. These are the times to explore. But work harder on yourself, your skills, your humility, and you as a human being. Work harder in that 20 to 30 years to learn those things so that you can get ahead and you can provide for your family and yourself to build a better human as you progress through your later years. And that is my 4 tips. I hope they were helpful. This one was just off cuff because I'm reconnecting with the younger version of myself that needed this advice, because I'm now in a position where I can share this wisdom, whatever you want to call it, with younger me. And I hope this was kind of something that resonates with you. And if it does, then continue to follow along, because I've got plenty more content that I'm going to start to create on YouTube and elsewhere that could be helpful. And really, that's it. That's all I really got for you. So yeah, I hope this was helpful. Follow along for more if you want to. No pressure. And I'll see you in the next one.